Welcome back to the Talking Hedge. I'm Josh Kincaid, capital markets analyst and host of your Cannabis Business Podcast. Today, we're going to do a top 10 cannabis stock news stories of the week, according to Benzinga. Number 10 is Aurora Cannabis announces the CEO departure and $1 billion write-down and some more layoffs. So Aurora Cannabis stock plummets on news of an extended jobs cuts and a huge $1 billion write-down ahead of second quarter earnings. So they reported that Terry Booth is going to step down as CEO, joining a growing list of cannabis executives that have, quote, stepped down over the past year, including Bruce Linton of Canopy Growth and more recently MedMen's Adam Bierman. They didn't really step down. They were forced to quit. So there's a big difference. But $1 billion write-down, I don't think that's going to be the first nor the last. Just huge valuations, just unsustainable production, which is why these companies are just going to have to write these off, which is going to impact their market cap, their earnings, the trust factor with shareholders. All of that is going to have to weed itself out. Number 9 on the list is Doug Ford fires back at a top Canadian LP, vowing to make Ontario cannabis great again. Ford returns after sparking some criticism about the botched Ontario retail cannabis rollout. So Ontario's premier, Doug Ford, he's gotten used to taking heat from Canadian licensed producers operating in his province. High-profile companies such as Canopy Growth and Aurora, Afria, they've directed blame for the disorganized and costly rollout of retail cannabis in Ontario at his administration. Maybe they should bring his crack-smoking brother back in. Number 8 is that Canopy Growth and BioSteel's CBD sports supplements are now on sale in the U.S. Definitely not good news for U.S. CBD manufacturers when they start bringing in, sports-related CBD for ailments and recovery and all of that. And most companies in the U.S. won't be able to survive any claims that the FDA throws at them. So products including protein powder, sugar-free protein gum, hydration mix, sports collagen. It's all planned for a 2021 launch. Canopy Growth's a major cannabis company in conjunction with BioSteel has launched its line of sports supplements already. Can only imagine that with this year, the prices are going to drop even more, resulting in more closures and companies trying to merge or pivot, maybe with CBG or CBN. Who knows? But you guys can't compete with the likes of Canopy Growth and their CBD sports supplements. They can afford marketing and advertising to the point where U.S. companies are gone. White labeling is crazy. There's a lot of companies out there white labeling CBD. There's really no margins if you grow it, manufacture it, and sell it. But if you put your name on somebody else's stuff, you have even more limited resources, more constraints. It's going to be a tough market. There's going to be a lot of people who go out of business, no doubt. Number 7 is that Hollister and cannabis legend Tommy Chong, they signed a licensing agreement, and Hollister's stock soared on the new highs. So Hollister Biosciences is going to manufacture and distribute Tommy Chong's cannabis full spectrum elixir, a 1-to-1 ratio. They're seeking to capitalize on the hippie and counterculture movement. So Richard Cheech Martin and Tommy Chong, they formed a comedy duo, Cheech and Chong, in the early 70s. So now Tommy Chong has focused more on the medical aspects of cannabis. And on Friday, it was announced that Hollister Biosciences and Tommy Chong signed a deal allowing Hollister to manufacture and distribute Tommy Chong's cannabis full spectrum elixir, a 1-to-1 ratio. Unless it's a trusted brand, we've seen repeatedly that people don't go after stars or celebrities. There's regional exceptions to the rule. In California, Berner has his own tribe of people that follow him. Snoop Dogg has his own tribe. Outside of that, really, there's very, very limited artists, whether they're movie stars, actors, or musicians. People don't care. And the sales show that every single time in every single market, which is why Willie Nelson's brand in Washington is restructuring. They're literally leaving the state. It's incredibly competitive. They're not making a lot of sales. And so whoever is coming in are probably leaving for better opportunities. But names of superstars, whether they're actors, musicians, athletes, you get the publicity maybe, but it hasn't translated into sales yet. Tilray is laying off about 10% of its workforce as the Canadian cannabis producer looks to cut costs across its global operations in an effort to become profitable. Their stock dropped about 4% on the news. Tilray is one of the least innovative, in my opinion. change my mind. Let me know if you think that they're going to be great. I tend to think that the executives don't really understand the industry. They're kind of at a ship without a wheel, and they're just thinking that money and their brand is going to generate revenue. I think Tilray is going to be one of the first to collapse because they have no real brand behind them. What I mean by that is they don't really know what their exit strategy is. I don't know what their target market is. I don't think they know. And they just seem incredibly chaotic. I think Tilray is going to be one of the first to collapse because the people at the helm have no idea what they're doing, it seems like. So number 5 on the list is a medical cannabis market supplier sees a huge CBD dip. So Trulieve's CBD market shares has fallen nearly 20% since mid-December. So Trulieve Cannabis is a predominant player in Florida's medical marijuana industry. They've experienced a huge drop in milligrams of CBD sold in Florida over the past 8 weeks. The lack of sales could be something similar to what we're seeing in other markets, where if you have an isolate, this may be in line with what we're seeing in other markets where individual companies that are selling isolates for CBD, they're not really creating repeat sales in some markets. And so without a little bit of THC in there for the entourage effect, we're seeing in some markets people taking CBD and not feeling it, and so not going back. The same could be said about vitamin C. When you take vitamin C, you don't really feel the effects of vitamin C, but you trust the brand, you know what vitamin C is, and so you feel better maybe afterwards. So I think that same analogy with CBD is going to play a role where if the individual consumers don't trust the brand, they take it, they don't feel something, probably not going to go back. They're going to call it snake oil or whatever else. So Trulieve does have some THC and CBD. I don't know if it's full spectrum. They don't say, but I'm just assuming that people aren't going back and buying it because it's CBD only. They don't feel the effects and is probably too expensive. Number 4 is Cresco Labs finalizes an acquisition of Hope Heal Health. They own a facility and dispensary in Fall River, Massachusetts, and they received a charge and ownership approval from the Massachusetts Cannabis Control Commission and have finalized the acquisition of Hope Health. While Cresco Labs is expanding, looks like Green Thumbs is kind of taking a step back. They're doing a lease-back deal with Innovative Industrial Properties. That's a real estate investment trust in the cannabis space. And so a leaseback deal is when you own property and you sell it and immediately lease that back so that you have money to play with. So giving up assets in order to have liquid cash to play with. They announced it closed on a transaction to sell its Toledo, Ohio processing facility to Innovative Industrial Properties, and they will get the leaseback facility, long-term agreement, continue to operate and manage it. In the U.S., we didn't see a lot of people go out and buy properties. More than likely, Green Thumb got their capital from Canada. They're publicly traded in Canada and France, and then over the counter in the U.S. A lot of these companies are cash strapped right now, and so there's just a big push to get money in your hands since people are maybe pulling back their spending habits after trying CBD, and maybe it worked, maybe it didn't. Maybe there's just too much expansion, too much competition, not enough advertising or marketing or differentiation to be that trusted brand. For whatever reason, a lot of these people are doing the same thing. So they're selling properties, immediately leasing it back in order to get cash. So, and the economy is apparently doing well. Right? I mean, there's a lot of leading economic indicators that are disastrous. And so aside from that, this is another indicator that things aren't as rosy as they seem. Number 2 on the list is that marijuana stock success signals a big thing for U.S. pot stocks in 2020. So Curaleaf's performance signals kind of a bellwether for U.S. cannabis stocks. Wasn't that long ago that Canopy Growth was the industry leader. There's another important development worth watching, as Curaleaf could be the new market trendsetter. They just received DTC eligibility back in August. So as of the 4th quarter, they were finally eligible across all platforms. So anything that's 5 digits ending in F, like Curaleaf is, may or may not be DTC eligible. So the Depository Trust and Clearing Corp is essentially what allows you to trade electronically. And if you don't have that approval, then most brokerage firms will not allow you to buy and sell that stock without charging $75 on the buy and sell side. So having DTC eligibility is really good because that allows your stock to be bought at all the brokerage firms, increasing your volume and availability. And so maybe that's why this is starting to trend, is because they just got that DTC eligibility. I see Curaleaf as a liability. There was way too many deals that were not an arm's length deal, where there was almost $1 billion valuations from previous executives, at least two that I know of, for $800 and $900 million deals that weren't worth it. So those will be written off eventually. Shareholders will come out of the woodworks, and more executives will be let go as a result of that. That's just a matter of time. Number one on the list of top 10 cannabis stock market stories of the week is adult use cannabis sales in Illinois, top 39 million in the first month. There's 4 multi-state operators that are staking a claim in the new lucrative recreational cannabis market. Per capita, Illinois is the second best first month of recreational cannabis sales in the U.S. legalization history. So these 4 multi-state operators have staked out an early claim of the newly legalized Illinois medical marijuana market, plagued with the same issues that every other rollout has had, from lack of inventory to high prices, long wait lines. I just would wait for some of the recalls. You're going to have mold and mildew, and maybe some solvent regulations, a percentage cap for concentrates. I mean, the Petri dish experiment in Washington has kind of set a precedence on how crazy things could be, from restricting outside capital investment to banning billboards, to I don't even know what's next. Maybe just tie the operators' hands behind their back and make them hop on one foot. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but a lot of this is deja vu. So congrats to Illinois for making a success in the first month, 39 million. Hopefully they'll take in $1 billion in revenue after a year of operating, following suit with Colorado and Washington. Lawmakers love that revenue, right? I mean, that's what legalization is all about. Kansas is probably going to follow suit. New York wants that tax revenue. All of these states are broke, especially Illinois. Boeing had moved their headquarters. They got 0% taxes moving Boeing from Seattle to Illinois. And their pension is struggling probably more than any other state. So Illinois is probably going to file bankruptcy. Anyone who has a pension is going to get screwed. And I don't think cannabis is going to be the savior. They need to be selling a lot more in order to dig themselves out of that hole. But time will tell. So with that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is the Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out.